Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the Black Robe podcast. It's your girl, Anjanae Slaughter, here with my lovely co-host, Miss Carol Mitchell. You looking good and real presidential over there, Carol.
I know. I got on my "Don't mess with me, I'm a lawyer" outfit today.
There we go. You've been doing a lot of supporting, lawyering lately, so it's suiting, definitely.
Yep,
And I like
yep.
that pun.
Yeah, the having a collar and a jacket. Very few people have on clothes with a collar and a jacket.
That's true.
I was on a Zoom court hearing yesterday, and one of the lawyers said, "Do I need to put my jacket on?" And the judge said, "No, it's cool."
It's Zoom. You're good.
It was 90 degrees outside, so hey, no problem. Come
Yeah,
without
well,
your
we've been seeing
jacket.
a lot of people in blazers lately with this election cycle going on. I mean, everywhere I look, I'm seeing pictures of people all looking very presidential. Let's talk about this current election cycle. We just made it through the primaries,
Can I
August
say I'm
3rd.
disappointed? I'm
Oh,
just going to go on record. I was very disappointed all the way from the north to the south in the fact that we cannot seem to get any new faces in this game.
let's
Very
talk about it.
disappointed.
And
Sorry,
you would
that's
have
just how I
thought
feel.
that with everything socially that's happened in this last year or two, here in Pierce County, here in King County, that we would see some real change. I mean, people were protesting, people were out there mobilizing, organizing. We saw a lot of
Yeah.
new candidates running.
Well, and this is one of the reasons why I am focusing my energy on 18 to 35-year-olds, because they have that great energy and focus, but it doesn't last very long.
Mm,
And so it's like, okay, the Freedom Summer Symposium was meant to sort of ground you in understanding that this is not just a campaign, this is a movement.
it's a
And
lifestyle.
you can't tap out of the game at
Mm,
halftime. You're only at halftime. You got to stay in the game and play it all the way to the end, because the winner is determined at the end of the game, not in the middle. And I think, I want to keep younger people in the game, engaged, keep that energy going. And frankly, I think what you saw is, we had moved on. Some folks had moved on to the next big thing.
mm. Yeah, well, I can admit, being a young person, that immediate turnaround, that immediate gratification is just something that it's the new era. And with technology and everything, we're used to convenience being at our fingertips.
Next.
But the slow
You-
grind,
we
though, there's some beauty in the struggle. There's some beauty in the slow grind, because it does take time to make lasting change. We saw some emerging leaders come out and run campaigns this election cycle, right? We had Jamaica Scott with, she spoke at our Freedom Summer Symposium. She ran her race in the mayoral race here in Tacoma. We saw some other, Ann Artman, right? We
Yep,
saw
and she's
Trayvon
going on
Dunbar. We
to the general. So
interviewed with Chelsea. I mean, we saw a lot of young emerging leaders come out and say, put their name in the hat, in the ring, right? And I applaud them. I really do applaud them for that. But, I think that some of the community kind of needs to take some responsibility for the results, because I'm just going to say, it didn't all fall on these candidates. We have to show
speak.
up and we have to support them. There was a lot of people, and we talked about it right here on the Black Girl podcast, that were showing up to Mayor Woodard's house upset, right, about how things were happening when we were going through a homeless crisis here in the city, right? But when we look at the results in the polls, you wouldn't see any of that reflected. And Mayor Woodard deserves a lot of respect. It is not easy to hold a mayoral seat in a very stressful time that we've been going through at all, But I'm just saying, people, if we want change, we have to show up, right? And maybe that's just what it is. Carol, we have to just re-engage. I don't know. What do you think?
Well,
Is it like a
and I just do not like the concept of people thinking they're entitled to be in a seat forever. I'm so happy. I love term limits because it's like, look, if you can't get it done in 8 years, I'm sorry, move and let somebody else try. And I recognize that there are some long range systemic problems where a person needs more than one term of office to be able to really impact it, because it takes a year and a half or so just to figure out,
just to get settled, just to
and
get the new
where's the men's room, right?
yeah.
Or the ladies' room. But look, if you have been on the city council for 8 years and now you are in some other seat for 4 years, and then you think you're supposed to be back in that seat it's like, really?
Yeah.
Part of what I think is the problem is candidates who have been in office, and I'm talking about all the way up through the federal level, they don't do any work to develop the next generation that's coming behind them, and they become they get entitled, they feel entitled. This is my seat, and frankly, they may not know how to do anything else. And so, where am I going to make this kind of money if I'm not doing this?
Right.
Because many of them, honestly,
this is their career.
This is their career, right? This
Their livelihood.
is their thing.
Absolutely.
This is what they do. I get it. I question politics as a career choice, but for some people, it works for them. And some of them leverage those old careers as politicians long after they're not even running anymore. But sometimes you need somebody like, let's say, Denny Heck, to decide, I'm not going to run for my congressional seat again this year. I'm going to step into a local realm. And what does that do? It opens up an opportunity for Marilyn Strickland.
That's right.
And so that's where I see the failure in the political system. Those who consider themselves the, folks who are orchestrating all of the Pinocchio moves never seem to decide to make moves that bring in more diversity, a younger demographic.
Yep.
What are you really leading, or are you just interested in your own career? To me, that's not a leader. If the only person that's advancing is me, that's narcissism, honey. That's not leadership.
That's right. They got to pass the torch. And, we young people are ready, and we saw it. We're coming out. We're running. And sometimes without the support, without the training, just with the sense of urgency, just with that leadership desire and energy in our souls that says somebody needs to step up and say something. Someone needs to be a face that represents these young Black men out here in the community that no one's listening to, or that represents, Black women, right, that are working 3 jobs just to make it, right? We need someone in those seats. So I want to support. I want to see more leaders in the community that are looking to educate, train up. We talked earlier, Carol, about this formula. So, I worked in politics a little bit.
What's the formula? Because there's not
I
really know the formula.
There is a formula to running, and this is what I've just learned, right, through my time at being a campaign manager, being an organizer, even just being a volunteer. You realize that there's deadlines. Of course, you have filing dates, right? You need to actually network with people, get endorsements, fill out questionnaires, because those endorsements are just a way of reaching bigger grasp of people. This running a campaign starts long before you file. You start planting seeds, right? And you have to get funders. You have to get people that believe in you. If you're running on higher scale, elections or campaigns, you might need the Democratic caucus to support you, to really get you past that line, right? I mean, there's definitely a formula to this. And if we don't know the formula, and when I say we, young Black leaders that want to emerge and get out there and represent our communities, then you're gonna see the results in the elections, right?
Well, how do young, new potential political leaders get access to that kind of information? Because they're not in the mainstream political organization, right? They're outside of that whole framework trying to get in. So
Mm-hmm.
is it their responsibility to break the door down and say, let me in here? Or is good leadership about prospecting outside of your current framework for new talent, for people who come with different skill sets? That's what makes a team strong, not
Mm-hmm.
not the inbreeding that I see going on inside of both political parties. They just inbreed. And you know what
Yeah.
happens when you inbreed? It affects
Yeah,
it
you start
affects the
getting
mind. That's
this
why
is
you're starting
true.
to see all these commercials on television with families all,
Oh, Carol.
interbreeding and interacting, because there's strength that comes from that cross-pollination of difference.
Yeah.
And it seems like if you're not in that mainstream political framework, doing what you're told, waiting your turn, which is what some of the young folks called me about this year, that they were told they need to wait their turn. I said, well, do you think you need to wait your turn? And if you don't, then let the voters tell you if it's time for you or not. Just run your best campaign and let's see what the voters say. Now, in some cases, the voters said, hey, it ain't your turn. And so you have to take that and then come back with a better game plan next time. But for
Well, and my
somebody to
response
just
to
tell
that
you,
though is, people can have a lot of support, but they're still not being supported in the polls. And that means the people that are supporting you, you got to get them to vote for you. You
mhm,
can have a lot of popularity, you can have a lot of Instagram followers, Twitter followers. If they're not voting, then it's not going to matter. So we need to also work that angle, right, with our voter turnout, making sure that these people that are being most harmed, which typically are the people that don't show up to the polls, but that need to, they
well,
actually do that.
I have my own internal game plan with my family. I feed those men and women, young men and women, and even the
Yes,
ones who are not quite 18 yet, they see that happening and they begin to understand that voting, first of all, is a privilege that people who look like me died for, right? The John
right,
Lewises of the world got
exactly.
beaten up for. The freedom riders were,
Mm-hmm.
brutalized for the sake of the right to vote. So first of all, it's a privilege. And second of all, it's a power move. I
Yeah.
don't want to hear you complaining about the fact that this law says you can't do this and that law says you can't do that. If you don't vote, don't talk to
Mm-hmm.
me. If you're 18 or over and you don't vote, I don't want to hear your
Don't talk to
complaints.
me.
I
You can't
really
sit
don't.
with
Don't
me
talk
if
to
you don't
me.
vote.
No, you can't come to my table with that.
No. Mm-mm. And
But it has to become a family
absolutely
expectation, just
a
like
trend, if you will. Mm-hmm.
for
You got
us,
to make it.
it was expected we would go to college. It was expected we would pay for it ourselves. And it is expected in my family, when you get old enough to get that ballot in the mail, you will vote. That's an
Mm-hmm.
that's a Nana rule.
Yeah,
They
that's
had to
yeah.
they had to
Goes
come in
without
the house.
saying.
They had to come in the house with the ballot in order to, that was their admission ticket.
That see, and I want to encourage people for the general election that comes up. Right, we just
Oh
made it through
yeah.
the primary. We got to make it all the way through. Let's make fun with voting. Right, let's make it a trend. Let's share it on our social media sites and let's post it on Snapchat, Instagram. Let's make events out of it. I know I'm going to do that with my friends and family. So I encourage you guys all to do that too. The game, it's not over. And the IBJ, I think we have a plan to
Yeah.
help
You may be
young
onto
leaders.
something for our design challenge participants from the symposium. We'll be gathering them back together early September-ish. And we need to be getting them plugged in to planning those kinds of events that get young adults registered to vote and voting. That should be their fall assignment. That going to increase the number of people in their demographic that vote and or that are registered
to vote. I love it. Let's do it. I've been helping people in the community register to vote. It's so interesting. You hear so many different stories on why people why they don't trust the system. And you know what? Sometimes people need exposure. They need multiple people or multiple instances to be told, this is important. You need to do it, right? So even if you hit a roadblock with someone one time, this is just what I've learned in my experience trying to engage with people. Don't worry, let them go. Someone else will touch their spirit. And if that person doesn't, then someone else will touch their spirit. Eventually, I think, that's just what it takes. It just takes that repetitive, consistent, voice from multiple people that understand the value behind voting.
Well,
eventually they'll get it.
Your mama will know this phrase, one sows, one waters, and one reaps, right? So, sometimes it's going to take 3 touches, sometimes 30 before people understand. And especially people, for example, who have been incarcerated, who may have had their civil rights taken from them as part of their sentencing. They need to know that there are some significant shifts in the law, especially in Washington State. They can legally vote. There's some steps they need to take, but they can do it. You don't have to. I mean, to me, I don't understand why tell me, what is the connection between your civil right to vote and, a DUI? How is losing your civil right to vote going to somehow rehabilitate you from, a bank robbery? I don't know. I can't see the nexus between losing your civil right to vote and some crime you committed. It's just a way of disenfranchising primarily Black and brown folks and keeping them out of the political system.
Absolutely. Someone's punishment should be, it's over when you leave your jail. It shouldn't be continuous for the rest of your life. You're being punished for your crime.
That'd be like getting a divorce and every day you still waking up to that man.
Oh my God.
Like, golly, I thought I was
done with you.
And you still living in my house, eating my food, drinking my water.
Yeah, exactly. No. So yes, in Washington,
does though.
Yeah, that's exactly what it does. But yeah, part of it's education, part of it is just reaching people. Nonetheless, IVJ, that's our mission. We're going to be getting some more of our young emerging leaders to start planning these fun social events around getting people registered to vote and actually voting. So stay tuned for all of our progress and work with that. Carol, I just love having these conversations. I love that we're feeling the same right now. Just a little disappointed in how things turned out. But were there still some positive?
I wanted to see Puyallup, make a bold move and put some color on their city council, but no, they
Lakewood.
didn't do it. Lakewood or
no.
No. I'm glad I don't live in those places anymore. It's frustrating enough to live in a part of the county where my county council rep does not represent me at all. I mean, not at all. We are so, and I think when you are the representative, it's your responsibility to try to represent your entire district, not just that part of it that voted for you. Once you're elected, you're responsible for the whole shebang-a-bang. And that's called maturity. It's called professionalism. If you can't move your political thought process to include everybody in your district, well, then you're the wrong person for that job.
Yeah.
And we have to find a way to make sure the right people are in those jobs.
It's true. It's so true. And, I think that's just another reflection of how powerful our votes really are. Because once these elected officials, although it is unfortunate that they only listen to those that are voting for them, once we start playing a significant role in election cycles, our voices will be stronger. They will be heard. They will be respected. I believe in that. And let's just test the theory and vote. If you don't believe me, let's test it and we'll figure it out.
Let's test it in November, on November 2nd, right? Let's just see.
There we go.
If we start in September doing some things, we have this we can do a human-centered design project to
I love it.
How might we engage 18 to 35-year-olds in the political process in such a way that we can see the impact of their involvement? How might we do that?
I got some ideas.
There's my strategic question. And I know you're going to have a leadership role in working with our design challenge participants to get to an answer. But you got to get some rest today. Hey, the last podcast, I was so tired. I looked at that podcast. I said, oh my God, somebody needed to give me a nap that morning, that day. I was exhausted. It's like, whoa, that looked terrible. I didn't even want to comment because it looked like I had.
Well, we showed up. We show up regardless of how tired, energized, awake, sleep. We show up and we hopefully can feed our community with another perspective from a young, energized, motivated Black woman, and from a seasoned,
energized, motivated,
energized Black woman. Yes.
Well, I want to go check and see how some of our candidates did in other parts of the state, and see whether I can at least celebrate some folks. Although I saw even in Seattle, same old names are showing up.
I did just get word that our friend Don Bennett made it through the primary. So, woo, Kent, yes, show up, show out for Don, guys. We have to.
So
that's a huge move. Kent is one of those places that have always been, primarily white leadership, very closed and not inclusive. So by having
a diverse city.
Such a diversity. I think the most diverse population in all of King County. So
well, I told you, I asked on Twitter, could our equity review index, which real quickly, maybe we can end on that note, that I have to give the Pierce County Council their props because they voted and passed the equity review index. And we're going to have a citizens committee.
Okay.
Now the committee will also be heavily dominated by county staff, non-voting. It's like, just because you don't vote doesn't mean you don't influence what happens in the room. So
it'll be true.
Heavily dominated by county staff, but one or two people from each part of each district in the county will formulate this committee. And so I'm excited about the fact that our county, 900,000 people almost, finally has put in policy that equity and justice for all is a priority. So that's good news. But
that is
my first question is, as an index, I told you my first indicator is, why is our county council all white and why is our county exec's office all white? And when those two indicators change, I will feel hopeful.
Now, Carol, you know where you landed when you asked those questions the last time.
I know. Those are my indicators of progress, though.
Yeah, I applaud it. Well, that's a step in the right direction. That is a good way to end today's episode. Thank you so much, Carol, for staying on top of what our county council has been up to and keeping us informed.
Winning friends and influencing people. That's what we do.
That's right. Well, we'll keep you guys informed. Until next time, you guys have a great rest of your night. We'll see you later.
Bye.